What's up, folks? Haven't spoken to you in a few days. As many of you know, I have been working on a video to discuss the most recent financial report that we've received from Nintendo on November 4th. This is actually not that video. That video is going to be a lot more in-depth, it's going to go into a lot more detail. I actually had zero intention of uploading a video today, so what I'm working on right now is less of an analysis and more of a reaction, I guess. See, I've been under the assumption that people understood the difference between shipped units and sold units. Assumption that people knew the difference between a sell-in and a sell-through number. Nintendo did not sell 10 million units to people. This is not my opinion. This is not up for debate. This is right here if you look at it on the financials. Where it talks about software and hardware sold, the word used is sell-in. And if you go to the bullet point at the bottom, it tells you what a sell-in number is. Sell-in numbers are hardware units that are shipped out to retailers, and they also include consoles, games, accessories that are bought directly from Nintendo. So if you go to Nintendo.com or if you buy a game digitally, it counts as a sell-in number. What people are confusing sell-in numbers with is sell-through numbers. Sell-through numbers are what the customer actually purchases. And when we look at Nintendo's financial report, we see that it states it very clearly. The sales status of hardware and software sell-in. These are all numbers that were basically shipped or digital purchases. As far as the Switch 2 is concerned, there is not 10.36 Switch 2 users out there. A console becomes a sell-in console as soon as it leaves Nintendo's ownership and enters a truck heading out to Best Buy or Target or whatever. Potentially, these numbers don't even include consoles that are sitting on shelves. They might have not even made it to shelves yet. And likewise, that 9.57 million number for Mario Kart is sell-in, it's not sell-through. We actually have zero indication of how many Mario Kart units were actually purchased. What we do have for Donkey Kong is we know that the sell-in number is 3.49. And then if we look at the other PDF, the presentation that Furukawa gave, we see that Donkey Kong Bonanza sell-through is 2.6 million. So Donkey Kong Bonanza, we know how much was sold in, and we know how much was sold through. That's sold through, that's the end user number that you're looking for. For Mario Kart, they didn't give us sell-through numbers, and that's kind of obvious why they wouldn't, because if we knew how many people were actually buying Mario Kart, we'd be able to extrapolate it out because we know that, 80 or 90% of all of the consoles sold were bundles. So if they told us that there was like 8 million Mario Kart units sold, somebody could be like, okay, if there's 8 million Mario Karts, there's probably 9 million Switch 2s out there. But we didn't get a sold through number for Mario Kart, nor did we get a sold through number for the Nintendo Switch 2. We only got it for Bonanza. Now, in fairness, we got something very vague for Mario Kart, where it says that 9 out of every 10 Switch owners has Mario Kart World. So from that, we can take away that whatever the sold through numbers for Switch 2 units are, 90% of that are people that bought Mario Kart. But again, that's kind of a pointless number if we don't know how many Switch 2s were actually sold through, nor do we know how many Mario Kart units were sold through. But I mean, technically, if it's any indication of anything, we know that Donkey Kong Bonanza has a 75% sell-through rate, right? If you take the 2.6 and divide it by 3.5, it's roughly 75% sell-through. So maybe the Switch 2 has a 75% sell-through rate, and that would put it roughly at 7 or 8 million sold through. But obviously, that's not a conclusion we can make. That's just, an assumption given the data that's been provided. And look, this is not to say that Nintendo will not sell 10 million Switch 2 units. Nor am I trying to deny that they might have reached it now by November 6th. But what I do want to be made very clear is that as of the release of these quarterlies, the Switch 2 was not at 10 million sold. Not to customers at least. And quite frankly, I'm surprised I even have to clarify that, because this is very basic stuff. We have zero indications of how many Switch 2 consoles are actually sold through to people. Now, to be clear, companies will generally only send shipped numbers. The only time they share sold through numbers is when they reach impressive milestones. Nintendo has done so a few times already. If you look at their last quarterly that covered the numbers up until June, they were very clear. 3.5 million were sold in the first 4 days. Those are their sold through estimates. That's what they believe was sold through to the customer in those first 4 days. But that 5.82, that quarterly at the end of June, that 5.82 was shipped numbers. So at the end of June, we actually have no indication of how many consoles were actually sold through to customers. But then they also released a slide saying that at the end of 7 weeks, which takes you to roughly at the end of July, the Switch 2 reached 6 million units. That's a sell-through number. Again, they're very clear about what it is. Everything on this most recent quarterly is sell-in. They don't mention a single thing about sell-through. And again, in my following video, I'd like to delve deeper into that discussion so we can try to land on a space of where we think it might be. But if people can't understand the difference between sell-in and sell-through, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. Like, I should have uploaded this video on the night of if I knew people were confused about this. And this is actually starting to make a lot of sense because there are hundreds of comments on all of my videos and all of my posts over the past few days of people thinking that there were 10 million units that were sold and in customers' hands. In my last post, I said that I was going to make a video about 10 million units shipped, and people started saying that I was being disingenuous and calling me a liar. And now it's starting to make sense to me. It's because people legitimately thought that 10 million individuals out there currently own a Switch 2 as of September 30th. So it's no wonder that everybody is just flooded to my channel because they think that as of September 30th, the Switch 2 has reached 10 million people. It has not. And again, we'll go into a discussion and try to land on a space where I think it might be at in the next video. But it's definitely not even close to 10 million. Like, people need to use logic here. We know based off of the Circana data and based off of Famitsu numbers that at the end of September, between the United States and Japan, the Switch 2 was at roughly 5 million units sold. Did people legitimately think that America and Japan made up less than half of all of the Switch 2 units sold? Do they not realize that the United States and Japan for Switch 1 and for every other Nintendo console before have made up like 2/3 of all consoles sold? Did they just figure that this thing has become so popular that worldwide people in Zimbabwe are buying it out? Y'all need to use logic with me here. There is legitimately absolutely nothing in any of these reports or anything that was shared in the past few days from Nintendo that gives us any indication of what the Switch 2 is sold at. The only things we know for sure is that it's over 6 million and it's lower than 10.36 million. Again, as of September 30th. And I am amazed that I need to clarify this. And I'm wondering now, where are you guys getting your information from? Because whichever YouTuber, Twitter follower, journalist, whoever you are getting your resources from that claims to be an expert on this stuff and doesn't understand the difference between sell-in numbers and sell-through numbers and can't distinguish when a quarterly report is talking about what's shipped versus what's sold, I would personally question the validity of everything that they've tried to claim up to this point. Honestly, now it's starting to make sense to me. This is why so many extra people think I'm a liar or a grifter, and they think that I'm just making up numbers, because they don't understand the numbers. Now look, there are people that disagree with me and they think I'm a grifter and they understand the numbers. And those people will never come to my channel and saying that I'm saying the wrong numbers. What they'll tell me is that I'm manipulating the data. But they know that I don't get the data wrong, because we get the data from the same sources. But the YouTubers and content creators out there and the Twitter channels that will go out of their way and be like, oh, he's just making up numbers. Now I understand it. They don't understand the numbers. A lot of you have asked me why I will not go on specific channels and debate with specific YouTubers and content creators. And this is why. Like, if you're somebody that doesn't know that 1 + 1 = 2, I'm not going to waste my time on you. Because I know that video will not make it to public. Imagine one of these YouTubers were like, hey, I got Nintendo on here and we're going to debunk everything he says. And then I show up and within 5 minutes, I clarify to him that sell-in does not mean it's in the end user's hands. They would immediately toss out all the footage and run back to Twitter or YouTube and say that I'm a liar and that I ran away from debating them. It's literally not worth my time to engage with these people, and that's a big reason why I do not. Now, viewers, people in the comments, y'all are a different story. You guys are not experts on the craft. Most of you anyway. Many of you just take headlines and you're like, oh, here's my chance to go and crap on Nintendo. So you come to my channel and you laugh at me. And that's fine. You're a viewer. I'm a content creator. This is the circle of life. I understand why somebody in the comments may not understand the difference between what's shipped and what's sold. Because corporations intentionally word things in specific ways to trick people like you. Because they want the entire world to assume that everybody has already bought a Switch 2 and it's at 10 million plus sold already. And they've succeeded at throwing people off, evidently. But a content creator, somebody that spreads news about this stuff, somebody that makes a living off of these blatant lies, or maybe they're not lies, maybe they're just ignorant, and in which case they should probably stay in their lane. And again, because I want to reiterate this is not me implying that 10 million shipped in the first 4 months is not impressive. That's a record in and of itself. And I will break down the reports and I will break down those numbers in the following video. And in the next video, there will be opinions, there will be hypotheses, there will be conclusions, there will be conspiracies, as you say. But in this video right now, this video that you're watching and listening to, nothing I'm saying here is my opinion when it comes to the shipped numbers. This is factual data. This is not up for debate. This is not up for discussion. As of September 30th, 2025, the Switch 2 has shipped 10.36 million units. It did not sell those to customers. And again, I am clarifying that because evidently many people out there do not understand that. And honestly, if I knew how many people were ignorant to this fact, I would have had a video out the day that they uploaded those documents. I would have set a timer for 3 a.m., woke up Eastern time, uploaded this video and be like, hey, just FYI guys, that 10.36 number, that's shipped, that's not sold. Because apparently nobody else on the internet knew the difference between sell-in and sell-through. No other content creator had the integrity to clarify this because I think some of them knew it, they just didn't want to say it. Look guys, share this video, hype this video, do whatever you gotta do, send it out there because there are people that even are on my side that agree with me that did not understand this fact. If I'm going to make a video analyzing the 10.36 million that were shipped and the quarterly reports for Nintendo that were sent out on November 4th, I would at least appreciate it if the people that are watching my videos, whether they agree with me or disagree with me, understood the very basic fact. We do not know how many Switch 2 units were actually purchased in the last quarter. The only thing we know is that as of September 30th, 2025, there were 10.36 million units shipped. That doesn't mean they're on shelves. That doesn't mean that they were in people's houses. That just means that Nintendo sold them to companies. For all we know, they could have been trucking out different Switch 2 units across the country, and that counts as a sell-in number. And again, the only sell-through number that we received for the last quarter was Donkey Kong Bonanza, which sold through 2.6 million copies out of the 3.5 million that were shipped. This is not a debate. This is not math. This is basic comprehension. If you're going to go out on a limb and call me a grifter and call me a liar, at least get this right. That's all I ask.